Thank you two for being here today. My name is Erin. I'm the Drinking Water Program Director at River Network. And we're going to have a conversation about technical assistance for communities to be able to access water infrastructure funding. Um, and so, could you two just start off by introducing yourselves?
Sure.
Great.
Hi, I'm Maureen Cunningham. I'm the Chief Strategy Officer and Director of Water at the Environmental Policy Innovation Center, or EPIC. We're based in Washington, D.C., and the team that I'm on is the water team at EPIC, and we do data-driven policy analysis and deliver technical assistance. And we are a National Environmental Finance Center selected by the EPA and are proud to be a part of this.
Thanks, Maureen.
Yeah, thanks. A great partner. We're lucky. I'm Katie Hansen. I work in the Office of Water at the Environmental Protection Agency. And in that role, I help with technical assistance efforts. So our technical assistance is to help communities access the funds that are provided by the federal government to invest in water infrastructure.
Right. Well, Katie, let's start with the why. What motivates EPA's commitment to closing the gap in access to water and wastewater services?
Right. So at the EPA, and I think sort of universally held at River Rally, one thing that really motivates a lot of us is that everybody deserves access to safe and affordable and clean drinking water, to wastewater services, and to stormwater management. And yet we know that there are too many people that don't have access to these basic needs, right? That the estimates are around 2.2 million people are lacking access to running water and indoor plumbing. And this is a huge environmental injustice that we feel really motivated and to address with partners at the state level and with local organization.
Maureen, EPIC works directly with communities. Can you tell us about the challenges in a community you're working on to address?
Sure. Well, we're working with about 80 municipalities across the country in 22 states. So that's exciting. But what we see is a lot of communities are just overburdened with a lot of different water issues. There could be sewage in basements. That could be the big problem. There could be lead service lines all over the city. There could be PFAS, or they could be dealing with multiple problems at once. So that really is the challenge: is prioritizing which challenge to address first, and accessing the funding to be able to solve the problems.
Mm-hmm. Katie, how does the EPA help address these kinds of challenges?
Right. So in short, and I think this is a helpful shorthand, is that the EPA is providing funding for local communities to access to invest in infrastructure. Infrastructure is expensive, and it can be difficult to access the dollars to do the whole range of project work, right? So to look at a needs assessment. What are the needs in the community? For in the case of lead service lines, where are those lead service lines? That would be an inventory of them. And then designing the projects, right? We need to hire engineers to figure out the finances. We need financial auditors. And then to actually construct the project, right? And buy the materials and pay for the labor to construct the project that is necessary for this infrastructure to deliver wastewater, drinking water, and stormwater services. And so the EPA has funding that is available for people to access, and then helps communities apply for that funding. So a lot of it requires an application, and it can be difficult for some to pull together the application materials and access those dollars. And so we provide technical assistance on that side. So just a few notes on the technical assistance, which I think can be helpful to dig in a little bit more about what is this that we're talking about. We recognize that communities may not have in-house, right, the technical or managerial or financial capacity that it takes to develop these applications, right? So when we talked about that full life cycle of an infrastructure process, we want to really do the hands-on work to meet a community where they're at and then help them get to that application phase. And so that can look like understanding what is the process, what types of materials need to be pulled together, designs, inventories, applications, and then when do you submit that application, who do you submit to that, what's the cycle, right? So there's a lot of questions in the infrastructure, and our technical assistance work is really focused on trying to help communities get there. And we're really lucky to be able to do that with contractors, right, through some programs. And then we have a lot of partners like Epic that are doing also great work in communities.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I've seen various memos and press releases about what the EPA prioritizes and goals for funding and technical assistance. Could you just summarize what those are?
Sure. Right. So we're trying to meet communities where they're at, and there's a wide variety of challenges. And so we want to help address those challenges. And then also by focusing we on some of that work, we can really make progress towards environmental justice. So a huge priority for us is to target these resources towards underserved communities that haven't received federal assistance in the past and may have been historically disinvested in. And so we're trying to ensure that the communities in need really have access to this significant influx in funding. We want to make rapid, number two, right? We have 5 kind of key priorities. Number 2 is we want to make rapid progress on replacing lead service lines. And this is a goal that was set by the Biden-Harris administration and has been supported with various initiatives with $15 billion of funding through the bipartisan infrastructure fund, through various programs and partners. So that's very important. You've likely heard about our third priority, which is tackling forever chemicals, right? Or PFAS issues is something that we also have dedicated funding for and are making a real concerted push on addressing PFAS contamination in drinking water. The fourth priority is supporting resilient communities. So thinking about climate resilience and cybersecurity and One Water efforts is important to keep in mind. And fifth is we're creating good jobs in the water sector. So all of this takes a strong labor force, and us investing and supporting workforce development is goals that we can work at together.
Thank you. Mari, could you tell us a story about providing technical assistance? You mentioned you're working with 80 different communities, so would love to hear an example of that.
Well, I really think what Katie said, meeting communities where they are is critical to the work. So you never know where a community is. You have to listen to the community first to figure out exactly what they're asking for and what kind of technical assistance we're going to provide. So one example of a community we're working with is Avondale, Pennsylvania. It's in the Philly area, south of Philly, and we're working in partnership with the Water Center at Penn in delivering technical assistance. And in that community, the focus is lead service line replacements, which we all know one of the challenges with lead is nobody knows where it is or how to find it, or even how to build an inventory. And communities right now, water systems are faced with a deadline, which is great to have deadlines and mandates. And the deadline is coming up October 16th of this year, when all water systems across the country need to complete their lead service line inventories. So in Avondale, they hadn't completed their inventory. They need help. Some of us earlier were listening to Alicia Smith from the Junction Coalition talking about the importance of community engagement. Municipalities are not necessarily good at community engagement. In another role, another hat I wear, I'm an elected official in a community of $45 million budget, 35,000 people. We don't have a communications department. We don't have one person dealing with public relations. And I don't think my municipality is alone. So when we went to Avondale, one of the issues they have is lead service line replacement. They want to reach out to the community. They want to find out where the lead is. So they, in that community, we're helping the community connect to a community-based organization, a youth development organization called The Garage, which is helping in tandem with the utility, with the water utility, to go door to door to develop communications materials that are going to reach people where they are, because not everyone reads the water bill that comes in the mail, and translate some of the communications materials into other languages that are appropriate in that community. So that partnership is key, and we're starting to think about where else we could, where there's other municipalities and water systems that need help with that community engagement piece. And in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, not too far away, they couldn't find a community-based group, so they actually reached out to AmeriCorps to develop an application with AmeriCorps to develop a similar partnership. Because as we heard earlier today, the door-to-door, the community outreach is so important. And oftentimes people don't want to open the door to government. They may have had a bad experience in the past. So that community engagement is super important.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing
Sure.
that example. Katie, zooming out, what values inform the approach to technical assistance from EPA's?
Sure. So I think actually Maureen's story is right about really showcase what we're trying to do. And we return often to three values that we're looking at. We're trying to provide technical assistance that is targeted, that is proactive, and community centered. And so by targeted, as I've said, but we just always keep returning to the point that we are working to reach underserved and disadvantaged communities. And that is a focus that is where we want our resources to be targeted towards places that haven't accessed federal funds in the past. And the proactive piece is to shift the burden from the community to the technical assistance providers or to the government. Too much of the onus has often been on the community to figure out what programs are available, when is the application open, how do I apply, right? And we're really in that proactive piece trying to find communities, us to do the outreach, and then shift how much work we're asking community members to understand about the process before they move forward. Mm-hmm. And the community-centered piece is really at the crux. We can't do this work, as Maureen was saying, without establishing trust, communicating in language that is understood, starting by listening and understanding what the needs are in the communities and responding to those. So we can't come in thinking we know what the problems are and the solutions are. We need to come in a way that really centers the community. So those, as you heard in Maureen's example and throughout our work, are the values that we're instilling throughout our programs.
I know this is like a really big lift that y'all are standing up sort of new ways of approaching technical assistance from the federal government and environmental finance centers. If folks are in communities you're saying that you are trying to do proactive outreach, but you know that you're not reaching all those communities. So if communities haven't gotten connected with EPA's WaterTA, how can they go about requesting?
Thank you. Thanks for the question. Right. So yeah, if you are from a community that is looking for accessing federal funds to invest in water infrastructure, or know of somebody that is, please visit our website. So it's epa.gov/WaterTA. And on there's a short 5-minute request form that you can fill out, and we will get back in touch with you and then put you in contact with a technical assistance provider to start this process of access or receiving technical assistance to access these dollars. So technical assistance providers will be able to help with needs assessments, with inventories, with the application process. And if you visit the website, again, that's epa.gov/WaterTA, and fill out the request form, we would love to hear from you, and we'll get back in touch.
Awesome. I guess I have one last question.
Sure.
How much does WaterTA cost? Like when communities are asking for it, are they going to be paying for it?
Thank you. No, WaterTA is free, right? So this technical assistance is available through the bipartisan infrastructure bill. So we're picking up the cost for this, and community partners, right, receive it without me.
Yeah, and can I just say, nothing in this world is perfect, but I think we have such an incredible opportunity right now with the funding from the Biden-Harris administration and this, billions of dollars to address water infrastructure. So I feel that it's a pivotal moment that we have to take advantage of and just make the impact and change that I think is needed.
Well, on that, thank you both so
Thank you.
much.
Yeah.
I do think we have some wonderful folks in the room in this wonderful story lounge with us. So I think if you all have questions for these two around technical assistance, we can spend a few minutes doing that.
Sure.
Yeah, put you on the spot.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi.
Appreciate the presentation. Are you all representing a certain region?
It's a good question. I'm at the headquarters, so the National Environmental Protection Agency, but we do have regions that do a lot of our work with states and with communities. So we work through the EPA regions. Yeah.
We're in the southeast of the Atlanta.
Right. We call that Region 4. Yep.
Right. And so there's a whole network of environmental finance centers, and my organization is one. But if your community, wherever you are, whatever state, goes through this WaterTA website, the EPA will find the appropriate organization that's working in your region. So you don't have to do any work to find the right organization. Just go through the EPA website and they will reach out to the technical service provider.
Very good.
Typically, what type of people reach out to you? Is it community, grassroots, other organizations? Typically, who's reaching out?
It's a mix between water utilities, so people that are managing a water or wastewater system, or a mayor or city council member in the town, or a community-based organization. And we are able to field questions from anybody. So please, anybody is welcome. Work with that. The technical assistance work is with community members that are able to apply for state revolving funds in this case. And so those are water utilities in most cases, but also other eligible entities.
You just mentioned that some of the TA geared more towards SRFs. And so I'm thinking about maybe people who are in, I think it's specifically tribes who are interested. If not WaterTA, is there a separate one, or should tribe call over to WaterTA before?
Absolutely right. Our states, tribes, and territories are all eligible and important, right, partners and that we're working with through WaterTA. There's some different, like on the back end, buckets of funding and different contractors and providers that will have more experience or expertise, right, working with different communities. So we do that on the back end, but absolutely, we have active projects with tribal nations and are certainly looking to work with tribes.
And EPIC, I can speak for my organization. We have philanthropic dollars to support some of our technical assistance. So if a community really didn't have a match to the SRF funding, but maybe USDA or FEMA funding, it's possible that we could still work with that community to find a fit to the funding. We just it wouldn't be part of our work through the EPA.
Yeah.
Is there, I guess, is it useful, because I know some assistance specifically for federally recognized tribes, but there's also plenty of tribes that are only state recognized. And so I'm wondering, similarly, is it best to go for WaterTA? Is it more back end?
Right. Everybody should go to the epa.gov/WaterTA site and fill out a form. There are the specifics of the eligibilities is not something that I've got in pocket, but we will work to connect people to the folks that are able to respond.
I'm talking about jobs, workforce development. How would that play now with the step up with it?
Right. Well, that in investing in infrastructure, we're creating jobs, right? So we need to hire a lot of plumbers to do the inventory work and then replace the lead service lines, right? And so to be mindful of as we do this work, right? Who can we hire and how can we invest in the workforce for a strong water sector? I don't know if you
I mean, at Epic, because we do policy too, we are really interested in lifting up examples and best practices of work, especially of local workforce development, because we want to see jobs created, but we also want to see local jobs, and we want community benefits. So we're at Epic really kind of pushing and advocating for policies that encourage that in communities. And then that will carry over as well to our technical assistance, because we want to put together a program that has the community benefits, that focuses on equity, and focuses on the community. So that's very important to us as a TA provider.
Yeah. Jenna, go ahead.
So TA can provide support, kind of, you mentioned the full life cycle of a project. Do you notice, are there more, now that we're a little ways into bill and maybe some of the jurisdictions and utilities have gotten some way through their capital improvement plans, and now they're getting to okay, now we need to do our inventories. We need to start figuring out what project gaps we have. Are you seeing more assistance requests for early stage needs for the assessments and the engineering and design and outreach that come in?
I when we track this, it's pretty broad categories because there's so many. So just trying to explain the buckets of types of need when really each community is quite unique, comes in, works with a TA provider that is also has a unique set of skills and how they work with communities. So it's pretty individualized in a sense that I don't have right off the top of my head these kind of broad trends. But I think if we just in general building the pipeline at every sector is important. So there are some communities that are pretty close. They have project designs and they're looking for this last mile, right? Some questions about how to go versus others that are earlier in the project stage. So I think we would expect to build the pipeline as we go, but I don't have the numbers.
And at Epic, as I said, we're working with about 80 municipalities. And of the 80, if this is helpful, about a third of them are focused on lead service line replacement. The other 2/3 could be stormwater, other drinking water issues like water mains or wastewater. And part of that is because we're one of the national environmental finance centers focused on lead service line replacement. And I would say across the board, there's a lot of municipalities that need inventories. They don't. So they're really starting there. And then a third of our projects are also, we're helping develop SRF materials and applications. And I would say those two seem to be, the trend, if we could see any trend. And like Katie said, though, when we first start talking to a municipality, we do a gap analysis. So we don't come with the answers, we come with questions. But I'm a little worried about the inventory deadline in October because so many municipalities have not started or are in their very beginning phases of finding out where their lead pipes are.
All right. I think with that, we'll wrap up. Thank you all for joining us. This is the first time we've ever done a story lounge, so I hope you all had fun.